welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through the industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Jess Vogelpohl. She is a speaker, neuroscientist, belief revision master coach, and founder of Consciously Unbecoming. Welcome to the show, Jess.
Thanks for having me, man. That intro music is pretty fun. I don't know if you guys could see me, but I was grooving.
Wonderful, wonderful. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Jess. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about how one can break free from society's blueprints, the wrong ones. So we'll talk about all that. But before that, let's understand a bit more about you, Jess, so that people can know who they are listening to and also learn from your journey itself.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you for just the beautiful intro. I like to say that if I ever become a Disney villain, in the Disney movies, and there's that montage showing my villain origin story, I feel like most people would say, yeah, you know what? It makes a lot of sense that she became a villain, that she like went to the dark side with all the stuff that she has seen, because I've seen the lowest depths, and I have been through almost every dark, shadowy piece of myself to become this free-flowing, self-aware, self-confident, compassionate version that is right before all of you today. Whether it's, childhood trauma, body issues. I lost both of my parents really early at the same time as I was having my children. I have some adult trauma, some hospitalizations, moving across the United States in the middle of a pandemic. And so I've had to climb my way out of these really dark depths and always learning to alchemize that pain into awareness and healing. So I always say, like, if I become a Disney villain, there's so much junk and trauma in there that it would make sense, right? Because we see people when they have these experiences in their lives where they either go from, they go in the opposite direction and they let the pain take over, or there's people that say, no, I'm going to take this pain and turn it into something. And that's a little bit of kind of my early story with that and how I got to be where I am today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I get your point, Jess. What I want to understand, you talk about, uh, stepping out of the BS societal blueprint together. Now, what does that mean? Means, what do you mean? Which is the BS part and which is the good part that you can tell us about?
That's a beautiful question. Thank you for asking me that. And Consciously Unbecoming the whole brand is essentially saying heck no to that societal blueprint. And what I mean by that is those expectations and beliefs that are created within us from sources maybe like trauma, demographics, religion, life experiences, those societal norms that are telling us that we need to think a certain way, believe a certain way, act a certain way, look a certain way, all of these things. And whether we want to admit it or not, we have been programmed. We have been essentially given these belief systems that maybe we don't necessarily believe or want to believe about ourselves and the world. And so when we consciously unbecome those, we're choosing our own authentic nature. It's about stepping outside of that programming of what we've been told to think, act, believe, all of these things, and say, no, I want to live a life by my own design. So that's not to say that there are these societal expectations and norms out there that feel good to you, that actually make sense for us. Follow that. But I'm talking about the ones that feel like you were forced into, or that make you feel like, you're not worthy of love. You're not worthy of success. You're not worthy of the life you want to have for yourself. Those are the expectations that I'm talking about. That's the societal blueprint that we need to slip out of as a society to really slip into our own authentic natures.
Absolutely, absolutely, Jess. So, how does one know whether they are ready for this change? Because one change is good or prospectively looks good to one, for another it is not. And if forget about the generation gap within the same generation itself or within the same peer group itself. So how does one decide whether to leave something and to adopt something new? How do you get started with this? Is there a way to look at what should be changed or should not be? Why fix something when it's not broken?
That's man, you're good at these questions. These are good. I love them. I think it steps down to what feels good within you and what doesn't feel good, right? So asking ourselves, so everyone listening, who are you? I mean, truly, who are you at your core? If you strip away all of the roles that you have, mom, dad, sister, brother, wife, husband, partner, all of these roles, insert your job title, insert your volunteer title, peel back all of these responsibilities. Who are you? And that's a hard question. That's a difficult question. I'm not expecting anyone to raise their hand and say, oh, I am, and all of these things. But the years have not been kind to most of us, and our internal guidance systems have slowly been hushed. So the way that we view the world and ourselves has really no longer to do with what we want. So if we look back and we say, okay, well, I am trying to embark on this endeavor, or I'm living a life right now that I feel forced into and it doesn't feel good. That's how you know right there that you're living someone else's expectation of you. For me, for example, it was always the way that I looked. Growing up my entire life, I'm like, I thought I had to look a certain way. My hair needed to be a certain way. And I didn't necessarily like that. It didn't feel very good. Now we're born into this world and we're given all of these masks that we put on. You know, we're put into these circumstances and environments that we literally cannot control. And we see all these giant adults in our lives and we quickly learn that we need to listen to them and learn from them in order to survive in this world. And so we do. And so then we're given these masks that might be, you know, sit still, be quiet, don't cry, suck it up, do well in school, be a certain religion, love a certain demographic, act in a certain way, weigh a certain amount. And then you start to grow and you start to age and you think, well, I don't want to look that way. I don't want to act that way. I don't want to believe that I'm unworthy of love. But what happens when you start to take off that mask and you start living into that? It's going to release all of these things in your life where like it's going to feel uncomfortable because you're starting to act in a different way than you always have. So now you're doing something different and your body and your brain is taking note of that. And it's putting off all of these alarm bells saying, hey, this is uncomfortable. You shouldn't do this, even though it's really, really good for you.
Right, Jess. So, is there a particular age group you are talking about, or this thing can be that can be experienced by anyone at any age? Because you
Anyone.
see, anyone. But you see, how does one know? There is so much of discord in the U.S. itself. If you see, people talk about awakening, being awake, then woke, and then so many other ideologies. I fail to understand many of these things. But how does one know? Because every second day there is something new. You don't know whether, and then there is another ideology will say, let's leave all these things. Let's go back to the past, make America great again. So all these things are get mixed up for a young person, especially who had yet to experience life. All these messages can be quite, overwhelming, and they may not be prepared to decode what exactly is good. Who tells them? Because what you are talking about is the wisdom. So if you go and seek wisdom, then you might think it's all about the BS which you are trying to break from. So where does a youngster especially go and seek true guidance from? The gurus, religion, or where? Or the social media?
They go within. You go within. And so again, it's that internal guidance system has been off for a lot of us because we've had so many external factors that are impeding on our intuition, on our internal guidance system. Most of us don't have the confidence or the self-love it requires to do this work. And I would tell everyone at the beginning, and everyone, if you're going to start anywhere with anything, with revising your beliefs about yourself and how you see yourself in the world, you go within and you start within. Because truly, I always talk about this 6-step process to belief revision of my work, where I've really looked at, I've taken all of my healing, I've looked at all of my clients' healing, and just really collectively taken this and said, okay, well, there's essentially this 6-step process. Now, I don't believe that everything is one size fits all, never. But when you go within and you move through this 6-step process, you're going to really understand things a little bit more. The first step, curious self-inquiry and shadow work. What does that mean? That means getting familiar with all the parts about yourself that you feel ashamed of, all those things that you try to numb, that you try to push down, that you want to ignore. That, man, if you were in conversation with someone and you said this to someone, you'd be really ashamed about that within yourself. So start there. Start understanding who you are at your core, asking yourself questions, going deeper. Because when you know who you are, none of the external matters. You're able to discern what is right and what doesn't feel right, because at the end of the day, you're acting in your highest good. And when we act in our highest good, we will never dim the highest good of other people's, because we're living in our true authenticity. And true authenticity is the guiding post. That is what we need. We are all working towards. When you rewire your beliefs and you get to a state of authenticity, you are living in your highest good.
Right, Jess. So help us understand about this rewiring of your beliefs. What does that mean?
Yes.
Does it require brain surgery or something?
So our beliefs color literally everything. I could really, I'm not going to put you all to sleep right now, but I am a neuroscientist, a behavioral neuroscientist. So I could tell you all about your brain. But the minute you have an experience that happens in this world, the sensory information goes into your brain and it is colored from your belief system. So let's just say you text a friend and that person hasn't texted back. Well, that's an experience that has happened. Now, a belief system that may have been based on something from childhood or our experience says, that person's not texting me back. I did something wrong. Maybe I offended them. Maybe they hate me. Oh my gosh, maybe they never want to be my friend again. And they start spiraling, right? And you start having this experience. Well, that is your belief system that colored that experience. Maybe they're doing 10,000 other things. So now you have this belief that colored this experience. And then it's sorted to somewhere in your brain and your body. So taking a look at these things and saying, okay, well, every time somebody texts me and they don't respond back, I don't want to necessarily feel like, oh my gosh, well, something's wrong with me. So we have to go deeper into those belief systems. So we've got our self-inquiry and our shadow work. Then we have to radically accept what we find. When we're digging into our internal systems, we're not always going to like what we find. Not at all. But we have to radically accept that that is what it is. That happened. That was what we experienced. And I'm just going to radically accept that this is the behaviors that happen from it. This is the coping mechanisms. And that just is what it is. Because we can't change what we refuse to see. Then when we accept that radical compassion, or excuse me, that radical acceptance, we have to express compassion for ourselves. We have to say, yeah, man, I was acting out of a lot of trauma and trying to heal during this phase of my life. And I wasn't very emotionally available, or I wasn't the best of friend, or whatever that might look like. We have to give ourselves compassion for that. That's tough. These all sound like, oh man, a 6-step. That sounds very easy. It is, but there's so many layers to all of these pieces that make it very difficult. So you've got your compassion. Now here's where the work comes in. We've got subconscious belief revision through affirmation. So we're making sure that what's going into our brain is rewiring our brain. We're telling ourselves, we're stopping our distorted thoughts when we think, okay, this person texted me and they haven't gotten back to me. I'm going to stop myself right there and say, hey, maybe they're busy. I'm going to start rewiring my thoughts. I'm going to stop myself and I'm going to rewire that in the moment as best as I can. I know it's a lot.
Right.
I know it's so much.
That's not. In fact, I was thinking about one particular point, and I was making sure that if I move too much, that thought will be gone. So
no.
Okay, so don't worry, it's not about
Good.
that.
I was like, I know it's
Okay.
so actually that I'm going to call myself out right now. That's a belief system that I just programming that you just saw, a belief of I am being too much. I know that is
No,
a
you are
what.
not. You are not, Jess. I must tell you, because I cannot afford to be not attentive. And the biggest uh, thing is that, I want to enjoy this conversation, but at the same time, my mind has to also work to be able to ask a
Yeah.
additional question to take this forward. Otherwise, if I were just a mere listener, I would be wanting to understand things much more better and keep on listening. And the thought that came to my mind was that how do you differentiate between, because nowadays a lot of people are there, who do not want to take accountability and responsibility. So whenever you question them, they start questioning you and the society and the belief system and everything, and they want to leave it all behind. What that we can call them quitters, shirkers, or whatever it is. To each one, whatever we want to, or they want to understand it, or they may want to be to think themselves as the biggest gift on earth or the biggest human being possible ever born. How do you then tell people to be accountable and not think of societal BS as actually that? It is not like that. Not everything can be BS. The society is a way that we all exist. It is there for our
Mhm.
for some reason or the other. How would you like to put it? The society, not the societal BS, versus people who are not showing enough accountability and responsibility and taking a way out of quitting everything.
What if I feel like this? It's like we all are trying to just do these expansive things, but we're so afraid to actually look within. We're always trying to persuade other people and get them to think how we think, but we don't really know why we think what we think or why we feel what we feel. And so that at the end of the day, remembering that our awareness and our reality is ours, and staying in our own lanes while we are working on our own stuff and not always trying to change people and not always trying to change what they think, but sitting there and saying, okay, I'm going to learn from you. I'm going to be present in this moment, because one of the things, and consciously I'm becoming a huge tenet, is authenticity and vulnerability. So imagine if we had a society of people that were looking within, trying to understand why they believe and think and act the way that they do. And one of my favorite quotes is by Ram Dass. He says, we are all walking each other home. So what if we all adopted that mentality, that while we are changing ourselves and our society is changing, because when we change what we believe and we change how we act and present in the world, we become very powerful in that. We begin sparking other people to do the same. And then before you know it, collectively, society is shifting. And that's a beautiful thing. And so for the people that don't want to take accountability for that, and we have those people in our lives, a lot of us have so many people in our lives that were like, especially people that are awakening and are starting to rewire and shape how they're thinking, where they're like, gosh, I just want to take this person and shake them by their shoulders and be like, why are you acting and thinking and believing this way? It's none of our business. We need to go within. So the people that don't want to take accountability, that's on them. They're not ready, because this is some tough work that we are embarking on. That's what I would say.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is so much to learn from you, Jess, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to learn. But what I want to learn right now is about this consciously unbecoming. You are the founder of Consciously Unbecoming. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I study the neuroscience, psychology, and quantum physics of our belief systems, and really how that impacts our nervous system and drawing in our desired reality. Now, I accomplish this through, I do keynote speeches, I retreats, I have a lot of digital products, a really great 8-week membership. That's a digital product, kind of go at your own pace to really walk you through all of the steps of rewiring all of your individual beliefs about yourselves. Online women's groups, I do training and development for teams that are really focused on the individual and collective beliefs that are impacting culture, goal achievement, and their organizational wellness. So I do all of these things to really help people draw in their desired reality, because I truly, truly believe, and I've seen it, it's science. I call them crossover events, when you see evidence-based science, religion, and spirituality all saying the same thing in different words. You really can draw in your desired reality. When you rewire your beliefs, you regulate your nervous system, and you are able to visualize what it is that you're trying to achieve through your thoughts and your emotions. I truly believe that. I've seen it in action, and I want to help people do that more and more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One more thing I wanted to understand is that when you talk of rewiring beliefs, see, nowadays we are all accustomed to everything that can be done and then undone. Either it's a WhatsApp message or a social media post, you can edit it, you can delete it. So we think everything can be changed. Even on website, you can go back to the past and take the version that you want. Can you do it about the belief? Suppose if I reset my belief system and I don't like it, is there a way I can turn back, or is it there is no turning back? How should one look at it? Can one go back, or there is no going back?
When you're on a hunt for authenticity and you're going back to yourself, you're not going to want to change what you alter during this process, because this process is going to get you more and more close to your soul's mission and purpose and your true authenticity, that you're going to love what you find. A year ago, I was waking up every single day not really wanting to be alive anymore, not really wanting to do this, not believing that I could actually get my business to what I want it to be. I wake up every single day now so happy to be alive, feeling I get to be alive. I now have a business that is thriving, that I used to believe that nobody wants to hear from you, that you're too much, that you're not enough, that you're never going to actually bring this to fruition because of all your trauma and all these things. And I'm doing it. And so all of this to say is you absolutely can change. I truly believe people are always saying people can't change. People can change. They just don't want to sit in the uncomfortable feelings of having to act and think and feel differently while they rewire these beliefs about themselves, while they become the person that they've always were meant to be.
Absolutely. As I said, there is so much to learn from you,
Thank you.
Jess, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to learn from you, about you, be your client. What is the best way for them to do so?
Yeah, definitely check out, you can find us at consciously.unbecoming on Instagram, also consciouslyunbecoming.com. You can follow me directly too. I love direct stuff, not on my business pages, but I'm at Jess Vogues, VOGS. But this has been so awesome. I had a blast. I love talking about this stuff. I love seeing how people go from where they are now into their desired reality. It's so much fun. And what a treat you are. You're really good at this.
Thank you, Jess. It's all about the company. So you get a good guest, you become good yourself. That's the power of a good company. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.